I don't know what I'm doing. I'm not a commercial guy. I'm talking to these commercial brokers who are playing a different game than us. They're probably so sophisticated. They're probably all 6'4", good looking with a good jawline. It being my first deal, I'm very nervous about it. We're uncovering a lot of stuff every time. My to-do list of stuff gets bigger and bigger. So the calling, I'm not going to lie, I have not done really any calling since we've gotten this done, just because this deal is becoming on paper really, really, really good, and it's requiring a lot of attention.
Welcome to episode 2 with John Kleisch. We are going to talk about his process of getting started in the commercial space. This was only probably, 6 weeks ago, John?
Yeah, brand new.
Yeah, so he's still really, really new in this space. So I think it's a great time to be interviewing and talk to him about what that process has been looking like. You know, him, if you listened to last episode, really, really good on the phone, really good talking to people. And so we just started utilizing his strength like right away and getting him on the phone with brokers really, really quickly. And so that's a big part of what we're going to talk about today. So, let's start with, 6 weeks ago, you were getting started. What was that like? What did it feel like? How was it?
So very exciting, right? Like when I signed up with you, I talked to you, I, sent you the money, and I was like, all right, this is for real, right? Like, it's time to get to work, right? So I knew that I was going to fully commit myself, and then excited for our first meeting. And I kind of knew that you told me right away that, hey, like my goal is to have you make calls right after our first training session. And like you hear that, and even someone like me who has been doing it forever, and this is how I made my money, is talking to people, you get nervous. Like, dude, I don't know. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm not a commercial guy. I'm talking to these commercial brokers who are like, they're commercial brokers. They're playing a different game than us. They're probably so sophisticated. They're probably all 6'4", good looking with a good jawline, and can body slam me, right? And it's like, oh man. So we went through our first day, and it was just, that first touch up on, hey, intro to commercial real estate and how to basically look for these deals, and, enough information for me to go out there and make some calls. And I remember, like, all right, we're done with our hour here. Now it's time to call some brokers. And I would sit there, my heart's beating out of my chest, like, oh God, am I having a heart attack? What? And then I'm like looking through the listings to call. And of course, I'm like convincing myself, oh, this is not a good one. They're not going to sell to me. And I'm going there, I'm spending, 15, 20 minutes just literally wasting time being nervous, right? And then I'm like, all right, I found one that was like, obviously I can't convince myself not to call this person. And I then like copy the phone number. I'm sitting there, I'm like looking at the flyer. I go back to this information. Oh, what if he asked me this? And I'm going through this whole thing in my head, like getting really nervous, not gonna lie. Like very, like I have not felt that nervous in a very long time. Probably like when I first started wholesaling for the first time, or when I first got on the phones at the first business that we started, right? Like equivalent to that. And I remember like typing the number into my phone and then like walking away to get a drink of water and coming back and looking at, right, whatever, trying to just delay the inevitable. And then like I spent a couple minutes. I mean, like now we're talking an hour. Like I've been literally looking at properties for definitely an hour before I actually made my first call. And then I had the number in there. And then finally I just like, I did not want to hit it, but I was like, I just call and like, oh, God, it's every ring. I would like take a deep breath. And I don't even think that person picked up, to be honest. But then I was like, okay, I made the call, dude. All right, we're on to the next one, right? And then like the next one maybe took me 20 minutes to call. And then I actually got a hold of some people that day and was able to chit chat, do my thing, and then every call I would make would literally get easier. Like the weight of the world was not on my shoulders. And what's funny is, so I think I talked to a couple people the first day, muscled my way through it, and then I left a lot of voicemails. And then the next day I called again, and I think I called 6 people in a row, and every single person picked up. Like I was expecting to leave voicemails, right? So I'm like, yeah, I'm making these dials. I'm calling my brokers. I'm just going to leave voicemails. I'll be done in 30 minutes. And then everyone kept on picking up, and I was like, oh God, what do I do now, right? But what's funny is I remember talking to this old guy who's been in commercial real estate for, he said, like 40 years. And then he made a comment like, oh,
Wow.
talking to a real commercial guy like you. I'm like, fool, you're my sixth call, you're my seventh call. I don't know squat about commercial, right? But just proves that they're just people on the other end of that line. Nothing to be worried about, especially now where I'm at through this whole process, have one under contract, dealing with all the BS. Like, and talking to these brokers and see how they operate, they are nothing special. They are literally just like any other human on earth, right? And
Hmm.
I have a special opinion about real
Yep.
estate agents in general, and it's not usually the best, but they're just like anybody else in real estate. They're just humans. They're not special. No one is special. They're just guys trying to work deals,
Hmm.
and that's it. That's it.
Yeah. That first day when you were struggling through it and had sounds like almost an hour before you made that first call. First of all, I've been there, did the exact same thing. I'm curious, how many calls do you think you made that first day, and like how many hours do you think it took to make those calls?
Oh shoot. It was definitely like probably about five. I can check and find out and see exactly. I have a call log, but it was probably five, and it took me at least 2.5 hours to get through
Yeah.
everything for sure. Like dude, I was exhausted. I remember because we did that hour-long training. I'm all
Hmm.
excited about it, and then I'm sitting there for 2.5, 3 hours doing all this of just like intense like cardio. My heart, like I said, is just completely probably 150 beats a minute, right? Like I was wiped after that, making five calls, and I think I talked to maybe two people, maybe, right? Or I think I left all voicemails, and I think people called me back actually.
Hmm.
So,
Hmm.
yeah, it took forever, like completely not efficient, but like it was just that first step, right, which was really important
Yeah.
just to get through it. And that was the worst day. The next day was a little bit like that, but it was a lot more diluted of those feelings, And then I think like my third day on the phone, I spent Oh God, I think the whole day, dude, from like 9 to 5, I was like, all right, this is my day. I got nothing to do. The kids are gone. I'm just gonna bang out as many calls as humanly possible. And it was the whole day, right? I think it only ended up being like maybe 13 or 14 or 15 contacts total. But
Hmm.
the conversations, the research, calling you and, getting, that was like a whole day of like 6, 7, eight
Hmm.
hours. But that feeling of anxiety was very, very minimal, very, very minimal. And it was good to, 3 days to get to that point of just getting over yourself and knowing what you got to do and do it. Made it so much easier. Cause yeah, dude, if I was making 4 calls in 2.5 hours and completely killing myself, this would be a very hard job to do.
Right. Yeah. So now, do you have like a target number you're trying to get daily or weekly right now?
So I don't. I know that I do. It's more of a time thing for me, right? Where it's like I am blocking off 3 hour windows of just for digging and calling those brokers, but then that all flipped upside down when we got this deal under contract with because that's been taking
Hmm.
a ton of time, especially in the beginning, like the
Right.
first 5 days. I mean, dude,
Right.
we've had multiple hour-long plus conversations. Me
Hmm.
driving down there, talking to the broker, talking to the tenants, having people that are familiar in the industry come by and showing them the building. I mean, I've been at that building for like 6 hours, if not more,
Yeah. Yeah.
just in the first week of getting it done. So it being my first deal, I'm very nervous about it. We're uncovering a lot of stuff every time. My to-do list
Hmm.
of stuff gets bigger and bigger. So the calling, I'm not going to lie, I have not done really any calling since we've gotten this done, just because this deal, A, is becoming on paper really, really, really good and is having more and more problems, which is requiring a lot of attention.
Yeah. No, that completely makes sense. And I still do that same roller coaster. It's like, oh, I need a deal. Source, call, get the deal. And then you're in due diligence and raising capital. And if you got to get a bank loan, which we don't for that one, go get a bank loan. And it's very, very heavy for a bit, and then it settles down and you can kind of go back to sourcing. The great ones
Mm-hmm.
source the whole time, but that can be difficult when you're
Yeah. and
stuck
and
in
it's like
diligence.
funny because like I know that, but at this point in time, like my brain can't handle. Like I'm learning
Hmm.
at such a rapid pace that I couldn't even if like I
Yeah.
really wanted to right now. But in the future, for sure, because what's going to happen is we're going to get this deal closed out, right? And it'll take a little
Mm-hmm.
bit of work to get it going. And then 2 months will go by and it's like, well, shoot, I got nothing in the pipeline and it might take me
Mm-hmm.
another month or two to get some action. Now I'm 4 months behind. It's like,
Yep.
oh no. So
Yep.
I know that's coming and we'll make a podcast about that probably at some
It's
point,
coming. Uh-huh. For sure. So when you felt like you were kind of good at it and you were blocking those 3 hours and you were making the calls and researching the property, like, and still relatively new at it. I mean, even at that point, probably 4 or 5 weeks into it, how many do you think you were able to get in that time frame of, like, I guess, how many calls and then actual conversations do you think you were averaging?
It's so hard because it was like I did a bulk of that in that one day. If I had to say, if you call three brokers, I have a feeling like one of them will pick up and then two of them will get voicemails. One of those brokers will never call you back. One of them might call you back, right? Is what I've noticed. I mean, because
Mm-hmm.
I don't even know how many phone calls, but it's like the conversations I've had is probably 30% of the calls that I make, if that. That might even be aggressive. I'll have to double check those
Yeah.
numbers and see. But in like, if you can call for 3 hours, that's a lot. That's a lot of
Yeah.
time, right? Because if you think
Mm-hmm.
about it, spending now, if I'm looking at a property and it passes my first sniff test of clicking on it, I'm not even spending 10 minutes anymore. And I'm
Good.
still very,
Good.
very new. Ten minutes would be a long time. Like at that 5 minute mark, I'll know, like, all right, am I researching this just because I don't want to call the next guy, or am I trying to squeeze something out of it? And then now, just from doing deals, real estate deals so long, I've learned that if I'm looking at a deal and I'm trying to make all these reasons why it's good, and I'm like making almost excuses on why it's good, it's not good,
Yep.
right? Like, not that it should be
100%.
like blowing up in my face, going, God, 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 this is great. But if every reason I'm making up and I'm stretching and stretching and stretching, I'm like, okay, this is not a deal. And I think that also comes with a lot of experience, and that is what has shaved off a lot of time for me. And talking to the brokers too and listening to what they're saying saved me a lot of time. If I'm talking to someone and there's five guys that own it, they're very well off, there's no pain, they're maybe just dissolving their partnership, and there's no, like, they have no problem holding on to this for 3 more years. And I asked them, hey, if I'm going to make a lower offer, and they say, oh yeah, if you made a $100,000 less, we'd look at it. And we're trying to offer 2 million less. Like, that conversation's done. I'm nipping that in the bud, and that
Yep.
saves a lot of time, because a lot of times you're talking to these brokers who are bad at their job. They have a listing where the seller wants to sell it for way too much, and they're gonna try everything. And they're talkers too. They'll sit there and talk to you and make it sound all good and grand. But after hearing those things for so long, I know those are time wasters too. So
Yeah.
um, you can really get lost, especially in the beginning. And I'm still doing it to today, right? Because I've only been at this for so little. But I'm starting to, those instincts are starting to kick in, and those feelings of those red flags are starting to become more obvious.
Yeah. Well, that's what I've noticed talking to you is that I remember when you called me about the one we got under contract, you're like, this broker, seller, they're motivated. Like, if we put something in front of them reasonable, like, they're going to take it. Um, Talk to me about what it was that he said that made you pick that up.
So, funny story. I don't know if I told you about this. I think we briefly touched on it. Uh, so initially, I called, and there's like three numbers on each broker flyer, or not, but many
Mm-hmm.
times there's multiple. I called. I liked this one because it was two buildings down from the dealership that I used to work out. So that has a little like sentimental value. And when I quit, my boss told me this. He goes, John, you can't quit. And I'm not saying this because I want to hurt you. I'm saying this because I know it. He goes, you are going to fail at real estate and you're going to come back and work for me here. And like, if you were my brother, I would tell you this. So I had a huge chip on my shoulder, right, off of that to begin with. So to buy a building next door to him would be awesome. So that kind of stuck out to me at the very beginning. I called the guy who was like the main broker. You could tell, like, he was like shooting me off the phone, like, what? Why are you calling me? Call this guy. I call
Mm-hmm.
that guy, and he was completely dismissive to me. Like, I don't know if he thought I was a schmuck or if he was busy. And he literally ended the call like with, hey, someone else is going to call you. And he just hung up the phone. And I was like, whatever. But like he was telling me a little bit about the deal. It was actually under contract too. So that's probably another reason
Mm,
why he was like not very willing to
hmm.
work with me. And then so I called the other guy, the last guy on the thing, because he was like the third guy in there. I'm like, this guy's probably going to talk to me. Called him. He didn't get back to me. Called him again. And I think I had to call him 3 times, and he finally got back to
Hmm.
me. And then he told me the whole scoop, and he was well more versed than the other guy was. And just talking to him, that the condition of the building, the situation with the tenants, he was offering seller financing, all of that just spoke to me, and I knew it was something. And he then mentioned at the very end, he's like, "Hey, this deal's under contract. The inspection period is over in 5 days, so follow up with me then." And then so I told you about it. I was like, "Hey, just putting this one on deck. If it falls out, this is going to be a good one." Then 5 days goes by. I had a reminder on my phone, called him, did not respond to me. And then at the end of the day, he texted me, "Hey, this one's falling out of contract. Let's do a deal." And then it was go time right after that. Got a little bit more information, called you, worked up an offer, went back and forth. And then we had that thing signed, I think 3 days later.
Yeah. No, yeah, that's true. What I do love about commercial too is if things aren't looking like a deal, you've got time. Like there's no urgency or rush to, like quick underwrite something to make an offer you're going to regret later. Usually, I think then that day when that deal fell through, then it became urgent to like, let's put something good in front of this guy. Like this is the perfect opportunity. So getting good at figuring out when those opportunities are and pouncing on them is a big part of it too. And then the rest of them you can slow play till they become deals from a motivation standpoint. So that's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
You said you can start to tell when folks aren't interested. You brought up one example. Can you think of any other examples of different brokers you've talked to and how you're able to kind of quickly disqualify them and move on?
Yeah. So one big thing for me is if the property's been listed for like 250 days, it's insanely overpriced. And I talk to the broker and I'm like, "Hey, what's going on with this one?" "Oh, yeah, the sellers think it's worth this much. They won't accept anything less. I brought them offers of XYZ and it's still not, connecting with them." And I go through my shtick and it's just uh, like when I hear the broker is not, I guess, controlling, I guess, not in control of their own deal, that's a huge problem, right? Because a lot of times anyone selling anything
Yep.
always thinks their stuff is worth more. But when they're that far off and they've already got presented offers and things like that, and I'm like, "Hey, if I make an offer like that, am I wasting my time?" The broker's like, "Dude, not even," right? Like, those are deals too that it's like, okay, that's good for the back burner, right? Because if they truly do want to sell, they will, and they will have to lower their price. But that's definitely not something I'm spending a lot of time on today. That's going to be a great follow up. And I do still like those deals, and I do like to still stay in touch with that realtor or that broker, because so they are, if they do want to sell, they're going to sell it, right? And then that pain will come in
Yep.
over time. When stuff's listed for a year and a half, and it's still going on and on. I mean, a lot of times, sure, maybe the sellers don't have to sell. They're older and they don't care. They'll die, and their kids will get it. Well, shoot, maybe that broker will stay in contact with
Hmm.
them kids, and then when they do sell it, they'll call me from staying in touch. That's when I've learned that it's like, man, this is a great deal if you can get it for half off, right? Everything else, the
Right.
building is rotten,
Right.
it's under leased, it's under managed, it needs a lot of work, but that still doesn't mean that they don't care. Like, they've owned it for 20 years, right? They've let this building go like that the
Right.
whole time. So there's some motivation, but maybe not that motivation on the end. I'm trying to think of anything else that I guess just like the tone of the broker, right? Like, I try to basically let them know, "Hey, I'm looking for a deal. I'm a guy that buys stuff for deals. I'm not paying retail." One of my favorite lines to
Right.
use now is like, "Hey, I'm not some hedge fund that has to deploy funds. The only way I'm buying these
Mm.
assets is if I can get a deal on it, and I need to have a pretty good cushion here. I don't have a huge tax burden to go out and buy bad deals and pay retail
Right.
for stuff." And I feel like that really work that, and I can see how they respond to that, right? If they're like, "Well, make an
Right.
offer," right? Or if they are like, "Yeah, hey, this is probably not the deal for you. I'm looking for this type of buyer that's going to come in and has 1031 or whatever it may be, has to deploy some funds." That's another thing that I listen for as well.
Yeah. No, that makes a ton of sense. I love that line too, because you're right. There's, some big players in the commercial space that the deal doesn't even really have to pencil all that much for them to buy it. And they're buying it for reasons that are very different than you and I. And when we're buying deals, we're getting bank debt a lot of times, or like yours, seller finance if we can get it. Always seller finance first if possible. But if we're not, we're getting bank debt and we're bringing on equity partners a lot of times. So we got, multiple mouths to feed and the deal's got to make sense for us. So yeah, we do need a discount almost every time. So I love that line. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. And then one thing too I've noticed is I've learned that from the working with agents on the house side of things too. It's basically like a polite way of saying, hey, like I want to get I need a smoking deal, right? Because if you start with that conversation or you say that exactly, like, hey, the only reason or the only way I'm buying something is if I get a 35% discount, no broker is going to be like, hey, sign me up for that, right? But if you pitch it and the way you work it, it'll be a
Mm-hmm.
whole lot. It's received
Mm-hmm.
way more differently.
Yeah. Yeah. I know we talked about it a lot, but what I love doing is, we're essentially, you could make the argument that we're lowballing brokers, but we're not. We're serious about the deal. We're looking at it. We're underwriting it. If we can get to an agreement, we're going to close. So that's not the issue. The biggest issue, and what I love to do is like, hey, we need to be here, but we need to be here because of XYZ. It just is what it is. Give them some reasons they can put in front of their seller. And, they still probably will say no, but you're not just blind lowballing, throwing out crappy offers everywhere. You're looking at properties, you're giving reasons to it, you're saying why you need to be here. And maybe it works, maybe it doesn't. But
Totally. And I've been on the selling end of those deals too, right? When someone's beating me up and they're being a jerk about it like that, I won't sell it. I don't care. But I'll sell it for cheaper to someone else that was professional. They gave me a list of reasons why. And they're like, hey, maybe this isn't for me. If it is for me, I need XYZ because of this, and that. And I get it. It makes sense to me. And then
yeah,
that's just a total emotional play, right? Because we're all emotional beasts where I could have sold it to this a-hole for, $2,000 more, but I went with this guy because he gave me those reasons. And especially in
yeah,
commercial, you said it time and time again, like your reputation is everything, right? So if you have a
yeah,
really good reputation and you're doing this for 20, 30 years, that's just going to make you millions and millions of dollars just because you weren't
yeah,
being you weren't hosing everybody. You may have gotten good deals, but you weren't, dragging them through the mud per se.
yeah. And that, yeah, to that point, if you position it, here's why I need it that way, and you're professional about it, they'll leave the conversation, even if it's not a deal, respecting you. And that just sets you up for the next deal with the same broker. Or maybe it's the same deal 6 months later, and that partnership of five guys that didn't really need to sell it, maybe they have another argument and now they really want to sell it. And you were the professional guy who made a decent offer, you're going to get the call back. Or if you have them on good follow up, your follow up hits at the right time. So,
Yep. Just like that one office building. Remember, we
mm-hmm.
made that offer like 50% off of what they had it listed for, and we made them that list, and totally cool with it. Is something going to come of it? I don't know, but I did not leave a bad taste in her mouth. That's for dang certain.
Yeah, yeah. No, you're ready for when they're finally ready to do a deal. Let's talk. What else can we talk about? Let's talk about. So you got we'll go into a lot more in depth on your deal for the next episode. But spoiler alert, you got it on seller finance, which is my favorite way to buy real estate. So talk to me about that. How did you pitch it? How did you get them to get on board with it?
Yeah, that was a pretty easy one because that's one of the questions I asked right off the bat, to sense kind of where they are at. And it was it was something that the seller was already willing to do. This guy was a seasoned guy, old guy, owns a ton of real estate, ton of real estate. He's familiar with it, wants to set his kids up. So this was kind of his idea, right? Which was great. So that came about right in that first conversation, and then also found out that the contract that was in place already was a seller finance deal. So clear as day, the guy was ready to go
Mm.
seller finance, which was just like I told you that, and I could hear the voice. You got a little giddy right off the bat. So
Oh yeah,
yeah.
oh yeah, love it. And so one of the common objections we get from older folks is that they don't want to do seller finance because they're older. What do you think made this guy want to pull the trigger?
So for him, instead of leaving buildings for his kids and whoever he else is giving money to, kind of a pain in the butt, for a non real estate person to take over a multi-million-dollar building,
Right.
as opposed to a note that just gets paid for every single month and you don't got to do nothing on it. He just wanted to make it easy for his kids. He's getting to that point to where I'm sure he's going to keep all the really good assets and keep those, but it sounds like he's selling
Hmm.
all the ones that are kind of rotten and going to be more work just to set up his kids in a much, much, much more easier way. That's going to be a great deal for him too. I mean, 7 G's a month for 7 years, and then you're going to get a check for like
Yeah.
1.1 mil or something like that at 7 years. Like, talk about it.
Yeah. No, it's a good deal for everybody. There's so many. I'm sure we both have talked to plenty of older guys in real estate who've been in this game for a long time, and for whatever reason, their kids didn't want to get into it, and their kids don't do it. And one of my sellers, his kid is like a professor and wants nothing to do with his grimy, dirty real estate properties, and I get that. And so yeah, same thing. Set them up on a seller finance note, get them true mailbox money, and they don't have to go to the dad's storage facility anymore and deal with the craziness. So it makes sense.
It is such a good deal. I can't wait to just buy a bunch of real estate and then when I'm 80 years old, sell it on terms. I
Yeah.
can't wait to do that.
Yeah. Set the kids up. You want one of your kids to do real estate, or what are you gonna random topic?
You
But
know what? I'm not really big into forcing them because it's like if you force anything on anybody, they're just going to hate it.
mm-hmm.
So I'm there to support. I would love it, right? Because that's like one of the few things that I could actually teach them. That would be awesome if they did. If they didn't, whatever. I don't plan on leaving money to my kids anyways, at least like any large sum of it. So like if they want to learn how to prosper in life and they want to learn it from me, cool. If they want to go out and do their own thing, whatever. I have a feeling though my son will probably do whatever I do. So I
Yeah,
think he's set to go in real estate for sure.
there you go. There you go. We didn't talk about this last episode. We should have. Do you, now that you kind of got a taste of it, do you have kind of goals for where you want this to go? Is there a certain amount of deals you want to get? Is there a certain number of something you want to hit, or what are you thinking?
So every time I've like set a goal or whatever, I just have this really bad habit of setting it so ridiculous that it's like not even attainable. And then I don't like do the things that I need to get to that goal. So I don't really know. But I would definitely say like my first step like would be of achievement would be to acquire enough assets where the cash flow from those assets covers my lifestyle. And that's
Yeah,
not that much. I
yeah,
live very, very, very frugally. I bought my house in 2012 when it was like freaking, bought my house for 80 grand, bro. So it's like,
awesome,
yeah, my mortgage
awesome.
is $500 a month. I got 4 kids and everything, but we live like very, very, very cheaply. So it's like not that unreasonable to make that amount of cash flow. But I feel like that would be the first step, right? I don't want to really increase anything in my life until that happens. And then
Mm-hmm.
once I find once I hit that step, I have a firm belief that then I'll find out what the rest of my life looks like because I do have
Right,
that option, right? I don't have to, I really have to do, I have to go out and I have to work every single day. And if I don't, like my family's going to suffer. And
right,
I've never had that ability to not work. So that's my first goal. After that, I don't know. I always have this figure in my head about $15 million net worth is like pretty much, I feel like almost the bare minimum nowadays to live a very comfortable lifestyle, right? To where if my parents needed anything, homes are 8 grand, 10
right.
grand a month, right? And I got,
Mm-hmm.
mom and dad and then,
Mm-hmm.
father-in-law or, yeah, father-in-law, mother-in-law. So it's like, shoot, what if they need 40 G's a month, right? Like, what is everyone going to do?
Right,
Like, oh, sorry, mom and dad. So it's like, that. And then with, having 4 kids, everything is so dang expensive and I'm going to live to like 100 and I don't want to, be slaving away for another 60 years. So I feel like 15 million net worth is probably somewhere where it's like, okay, if my goal was to just get set, that's probably where that stops. And then anything after that's just because it's fun. But I have a feeling, dude, I'm going to be doing this forever, right? Always deal hunting,
yeah,
grinding, and getting after it. That's kind of my personality. And then hopefully by then it's,
yeah.
we can do $100 million deals from our PJs, right? We're not the ones grinding on the phones. We'll be the ones that are sending wiring the money or cutting the checks or whatever it may be. So
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I see this, the cool thing, especially for someone like you who's just really good at talking and networking. I mean, having a couple big important phone calls a week, getting deals done off pure relationships from wherever, from the country club, and
Yeah,
um, live your life the rest of the time. That sounds awesome.
totally. Yeah, that sounds good for me too. Let's do it.
We'll make that happen. Well, this week we talked a lot about talking to brokers. We're probably going to talk about that a lot with John because he's good at it. Next time we have John on, we're going to go through his first deal he got under contract in painstaking detail so you guys know everything about it, why we like it. And so stay tuned for that one. Until next time, pick up the phone, call some brokers.